Oh, hey, what's up? I'm just out here reviewing some footage of me trimming a bunch of stuff in the 150-gallon aquarium. This is one of the aquariums that I feature regularly on my YouTube channel, which you're at right now. And if you're not subscribed, you should figure out how to get that done. The 150-gallon aquarium is way overgrown, and this is actually part two. So if you missed part one, go back, check it out, then come back here as we continue on with some of the plants in that aquarium. This is one of the tanks that I set up when I moved here a few years ago, and I just haven't moved it ever since. I've been continually just working on the aquascape in here, adding plants, and boy howdy, is it full and way overgrown. Because if you happen to be watching this after the year 2020, right now there's a giant pandemic going on. And actually, one of the reasons why it's overgrown is my baby just woke up from her nap, which means I got to get back to doing that. Meanwhile, you guys watch some of this video, and I'll jump back in when I get her down for after dinner or something. To this day, my most recommended plant for anyone starting out in the hobby is the pocus stellatus octopus. It doesn't seem to be a week goes by that I don't have to trim this plant. It grows extremely fast. It is easy to fertilize. It is easy to light. It will accommodate pretty much any substrate you put it in. It grows this brilliant green, long tendrils. It's just 100% my most recommended plant to anybody out there that is starting an aquarium. Even though I do tend to be a little bit over dramatic about how often I have to trim it, it's not the worst thing in the world. As a matter of fact, I would say it's a good thing. Rotella atra is also a plant I would put directly on the list of easy plants that grow orange and red. This voracious stem plant, I am consistently, regularly, frequently having to trim it back, and today is no different than all of the other times I have to trim it back. Now, one of the downsides to this plant is that once it's trimmed back, it looks terrible. You do have to wait for it to regrow. It is not a plant that does well with trimming it back because it ends up looking like just a stumpy mess of cut off stems and weird little aerial roots and stuff. But rest assured, it will grow back faster than you think. This is about once every 2 to 3 weeks big time trim. So far, I'm pretty much just doing kind of the regular trim back, and as you can see here, I'm kind of picking and choosing my spots as to where I want to trim in order to shape the regrowth. I don't want the regrowth to just be individual stems. I want them to multiply at a height that I want them to be at, which is approximately 6 inches up off of the substrate. So all the new sprouts and everything will be in the middle range of the tank once they're grown, and then it's time to trim it again. This has proven to be kind of my favorite method of trimming most of these rotellas, this one included, and it works out pretty well as far as I'm concerned. It makes this nice kind of just ball of orange and red kind of in the center of the aquarium, and I find that quite pleasing personally. Final plant of the day needing some major attention and some major rescaping is the Hygrophila coriumbosa siamensis 53B. It's got a super long name. It's a Hygrophila siamensis is what we normally would refer to it as. Those of you that have been following the channel for a really, really long time would know for many years, I lost my marbles growing Hygrophila willow variety. So the willow variety of Hygrophila, I was growing that for years and years and years. The pocus teman stellatus has taken the place of that plant personally in my aquascaping. Now, I'm lucky to have gotten some tank raised version of this plant. I got some just a while back from my friend Dan. As you can see here, I've had to pull out the whole clump from that one spot that it's in, and the reason for that is that I got a whole bunch of clumps. I put plant weights on them, and I kind of just stuck them in the tank to see if they would acclimate, because I was a little bit concerned about whether or not they would acclimate to my tank conditions. And I often do that with plants that I get in. I will put a plant weight on them and see how well they root and grow and adapt before I go ahead and plant it and get super disappointed if it doesn't work out. Luckily, this plant has adapted really well, rooted, started to grow, so I separated the plants out and added it into the middle background of the aquarium here. There's only a couple of plants behind it that do grow exceedingly tall. So this plant itself will send out a lot of side shoots as opposed to the willow hygro, which typically grows a lot more vertically. So this actually will have a tendency to kind of bush out, even though it will eventually grow tall in my tank also, which is why I'm adding it into the background here. As you can see, I'm just kind of pushing the stems down to plant them correctly into the substrate. Very simple to plant, and eventually I will show you guys a trimming and propagation video on this plant when that time comes around. But I'm super stoked to have this brilliant plant, bright green. I'm just have a powerful lust for bright green plants, but also dark green plants and red plants and yellow plants and all of the colors of the rainbow. Let's be realistic here, guys. I love them all, but I'm super stoked to have this plant because of its sort of, distinct difference in compared to a lot of the other plants that I have currently in this tank. Hey, thanks for coming all the way out. I really appreciate it. Thanks for spending your time here, checking it out. Hit the buttons, do all the stuff, blah, 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 blah. Oh, yeah. Today's show was brought to you by books. Books are delightful, and we love them. The actual sponsor is the fans. It's you guys. So, thanks. And later.